Thank you so much for coming to the Soulish podcast. Today, I have a wonderful, wonderful guest. He is my chiropractor, my doctor, Dr. Darren Murphy. And I'm so excited to have you here, Dr. Darren, because it's really awesome to be able to talk about chiropractic care and how it relates to all parts of us, body, soul, spirit connection. And I love that you are a self-empowerment chiropractor. That's like one of my favorite things about your bio. You're also based in Denver, which is where I live, and you own the Source Chiropractic in Denver, and you're a lead facilitator also in the Kairos Training Culture, which is really cool. There's a really amazing quote that I love, which is, with every masterful adjustment, there is an increased expression of life. And with every life that has more expression, there is a global rise in consciousness. That hit home. So I love that you're also a part of that, because it so is ingrained in your chiropractic care. And I've been a benefactor of that. You draw literally and figuratively. And I found this out just like a couple of visits ago. And I was like, what? My head was like way back, and I was looking at this picture that you have on the back, and I was like, what are all those symbols? You're like, I channeled it. And so I was like, no way. So you actually channel healing codes from the sun, and you're also an interdimensional bridge that channels cosmic symbols and solar frequencies. And I love that that's so a part of your activation process. And that's really cool. You also have a beautiful fiance, Hannah Grace Stone. And she's also a wonderful, wonderful human being. So the two of you are just this power couple. And it's so amazing that you guys are going to start your journey in 2022. This summer, you're finally going to get hitched. And so I think everything you do your whole life is really interesting. And I'd like to maybe start off with what led you to chiropractic.
Sure. Well, first off, thank you for that rousing introduction. Makes it seem like I really have things going on, right?
You do.
A lot of years and effort and focus have been leading up to what people see and feel now. That's a big question. What led me to chiropractic? It was really a 27-year journey. So when I started, when I was about 8 or 9, I grew up in a very medical focused family, a very allopathic family focused on drugs as treatment, and my mom had finally had enough of us being sick and being in the hospital and going to the doctors and taking all the drugs and popping the pills. And so she bucked that whole system. She said, screw it. I'm done. My grandpa was a very well-known physician in the community where I grew up in Wyoming, multiple uncles. And she took us to a natural herbologist, and she just started pumping us full of herbs for years and years and years and years. And that really, when I look back, that was what started my natural foundation towards healing. But then throughout the years, I had all kinds of orthopedic injuries, broken legs. I even have a short leg. A lot of people don't know that.
No.
From a football injury in high school where I broke the growth plate, and then I didn't grow anymore after that. So I got a short leg. It's my weird leg. And then, broken arms and hands and all sorts of things. And so I had a lot of orthopedic surgery experiences growing up. From the time I was about 12 to 17, 18, I had about 9 surgeries, and I always got fixed. I always got better than I was before. So I wanted to become an orthopedic surgeon. This is very ironic, right? Because I've been steered away from that as a kid. And so, I was very dedicated pre-med student, did all the prereqs, the OChem, the chemistry, the physics, did all of the things that you're supposed to do. I cut rat brains in the basement for neuroscience experiments. And, I did all the shadowed neurosurgeons, orthopedic surgeons, just to get in med school. But that dream died on a vine my senior year of college when I got 12 rejection letters. And that was a big crush. That was a big bomb in my world, but I took it as a sign from the universe that was not the path meant for me. Now, I say that easily in that moment, but that was a very hard realization to come through.
Yeah.
So I went into business with my brothers. That was hardcore, kind of sucked. Best years of my life, I feel, were lost down the drain, just working, staring at a computer. So I know what it's like to work 16 hours a day, like a zombie, doing nothing of purpose. Then I went home to heal from the trauma of entrepreneurship. And when I was home, I started my awakening phase in my parents' basement from 25, 26, 27, just rocking it solo in my parents' basement. Such formative years, but such a great opportunity to completely change who I am and who I was. And in that time, I realized that healing is not an outside in job. It's not something that doctors in white coats can prescribe to you and cut on you. There's a time and a place for that. I acknowledge that, and I've had that before, but it's not as often as most people think. I came to find out that healing is an inside out job, right? Above, down, inside out. ADIO, one of the main chiropractic philosophies. And in that time, chiropractic came into me through my brother, Sean. He's like, Darren, you're a chiropractor. You just don't know it yet. I'm like, bullshit, dude. Like, I'm not going back to school for 3.5 years. I'm not spending $250,000. Like, no, not like I had anything going for me anyway. Right. And so 2 years later, I saw the proverbial light, so to say, went to Life West in the Bay Area. Joe Dispenza, of all people, was speaking at the school that very weekend for what was called Champions Weekend. And, if anyone knows Joe Dispenza, it was game over before it even started, or should I say game on before I even started. And so I submitted my application a week later, was admitted 3 weeks later, and started 4 months later.
Wow.
And the rest is history. That was 27 years in a nutshell. And so it was, when I look at the biggest messages, it was, I really encompass the spectrum from being a person of allopathic medicine and understanding allopathic medicine and what it can do, but really my life expression, my life purpose as far as work goes, my profession, it was never aligned with the healing of allopathic medicine. It was ultimately aligned with the chiropractic principle, above, down, inside out, natural healing. Just help people get themselves out of the way, right? Like, doctor does not do the healing. Right? Like, that's a big concept for people, is that they go to a doctor to heal them. When people need educated that you can heal yourself, you just need to do the work and be placed in the realm of the right people who can facilitate your greater levels of expression. And that's what I get to do every single day. And I'm grateful that it took all the twists and turns and the disappointments and the successes and failures to be a chiropractor. And I give, love, serve out of abundance every single day at the Source. And I'm grateful to serve people like you to know what natural healing really is.
Hello, Soulish Tribe. So I know that I'm not alone and always feeling thirsty. Even though I hydrate throughout the day, I'm always feeling that I need more water, especially after those cycling classes. My friends James and Mark over at Zaka have the perfect solution. Zaka's Hydration and Liverade is the #1 recovery and hydration solution for working out, jet lag, or drinking maybe just a little too much. Zaka uses herbs such as Japanese raisin as well as other natural and fermented ingredients that are safe and without artificial flavors. Zaka is unique because it doesn't just replenish what your body needs, but also supports your body's natural ability to recover. It's 2 very, very yummy and berry chewable tablets that you can put under your tongue or chew up and swallow. Go to Zaka.com, that's ZACA.com, and use promo code SOULISH15 to get 15% off of your order. If you're needing healing and an integration of that healing, I've just released a healing package that is just for that purpose. My healing package allows you to truly invest in your healing with 4 2-hour sessions that will support you to reveal, heal, and integrate. Whether you're going through a difficult time or simply want to dig deeper, this package is here for you and with a 50% discount. I truly care that my clients not only experience healing, connection, and freedom during our sessions, but in their everyday lives as well. And this is a typical issue that I see with people that just book one session, is that they miss that integration piece that is so important. Go to whitneyapke.com/book to invest in your healing now. It's an amazing reminder, Dr. Darren, that when you have something that could really seem as like a failure or as a roadblock, as a
Mhm.
hindrance that like, I'm not meant for this, like this that I was pursuing, this that I thought was my purpose. It's such a great reminder to just know to trust life and trust the
Mhm.
universe, that
Yeah.
it's leading you and guiding you always. And so if anyone isn't inspired by that,
Like it was, I mean, I did 4 years of intense pre-medical study. Like I sacrificed all the
yeah,
partying. I sacrificed concerts. I sacrificed, skiing weekends up to the mountains. I went to see you Boulder. All of that stuff was insanely accessible. I sacrificed relationships, no girlfriends, no relationships during that time. I was so committed to becoming an orthopedic surgeon and thought that it took all of these things only to become a chiropractor in the end. So it's very ironic. But when it came time to apply for chiropractic school, I was an ideal candidate. I had 3 years of entrepreneurial experience with all of the pre-medical studies. It was like sign on the dotted line and pay your application fee. You're already in.
yeah, yeah. And
you know,
and it's cool to know that like your history, everything you had worked so hard for, that it wasn't lost, it wasn't
wasn't
in
lost at
vain.
all.
It actually set you up to own
Totally.
your own chiropractic center.
Everything,
Like,
everything that I was doing along the way was preparing me for the next step. I just couldn't
mhm,
see the next step.
yeah,
That was hindsight's 2020. When you look back, it all makes sense. But I'm like, oh my God, this disappointment was preparing me for this. These entrepreneur years were preparing me for when I was going to open my own practice, and on and so forth. So like the universe has a funny way of unraveling things. But yeah, keeping faith, as we say in chiropractic, keep the faith, turn the crank. You know, keep the faith, keep going to work, keep pushing, keep striving. The universe has your best interest at heart.
yeah, that's so good. That's such a good reminder. And just to know that everything builds upon itself and helps us in our journey. And that's true.
Mhm.
Even if it's a loss, even if it's devastating, it still will benefit you in the end. And that's such a good reminder.
Mhm.
Um, so I came into your practice and I've had 3 chiropractors in my life.
Mhm.
Um, and I had like consistent care for probably like a year. And then I had one-offs. There was one time where I actually, we can maybe talk offline more about this, but
Mhm.
I don't know what I did, but I somehow slipped ribs out of place.
Mhm.
I was in
Yeah,
excruciating amount of
it
pain,
sucks.
and it was like really painful. So I went to this old guy that just like put me on this weird contraption machine thing that I had never seen ever before. He did adjust me and get me like good to go, not like hobbling and slash almost in tears because I'm hurting so bad. So that was great. And he confirmed, yes, your ribs are out, because I was like, there's something here. And I don't
Yeah.
know what it is, but something's off. Um, but never have I ever, I love that game. Never have I ever gone into a chiropractic office and instantly before like step foot one in, and it's like atmosphere is totally different,
Mhm.
like shifts of
Yeah.
atmosphere and energy. And one, you guys continuously burn Palo Santo, which is the best thing ever.
Like a cycle all the time. It's like chain smoking. One ends, one begins.
I love it. So that helps.
Mhm.
But I just love it. Like the energy in your office is so different. It was such a different experience coming into your practice. And I love that you bring this element of spirituality. And you and I, of course, we like banter,
Mhm.
probably more than other people when I'm there on
Yeah.
spirituality and things like that, because we can. But I love that that's a holistic element of your practice, that it's self-empowerment, as you were saying, where it's like, no, we are the healers of our own selves. And
Mhm.
that's all parts of ourselves. We alone are empowered to heal. Like we don't need anything outside of ourselves necessarily. And you may differ with me on this, but I think we don't need necessarily anything outside of ourselves, that we already have it within us. Like our
Sure.
body's natural ability to heal and recover is there. But with chiropractic, it's so interesting because not a lot of people probably think it's just cracking bones and
Mhm.
maybe releasing pressure, some things like that, fixing something like me where it's like slip ribs out of place or something like that. Or it's something that you do after an injury. But really, chiropractic care is a consistent part of, like, should be, I think, a part of our daily lives,
Yeah.
because it's so monumental in just your daily life and function. And so I didn't know if you could explain a little bit more about chiropractic care, subluxations, what it is, and why it would be important for us to do it. I'm a believer, but I know other people are probably
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
not so sure.
we could have like a 10-day seminar
Yeah.
on what chiropractic is, but in short, chiropractic has a very deep philosophy. And a lot of people just think you go and you get cracked, right? You go and you get crunched, right? That is so far from the truth. It's I don't take offense to it, but like it's very shallow, right? But chiropractic is actually very deep. It was created, it was okay, this is where we're going to go because we need to go here. Chiropractic was channeled. And what do I mean by channeled? It was channeled by a guy named D.D. Palmer in 1895. He was a mystic. And in meditation, he channeled the concepts of chiropractic, how to do it, what it meant, right? In an 1895 scientific understanding. Then he went ahead and he did this, right? He did these adjustments on these people. First guy, Harvey Lillard, he was a janitor at his office building. Boom, he was deaf, restored his hearing. Boom, first chiropractic adjustment, restored hearing, right? Taking pressure off nerves, releasing distortions in the central nervous system, right? So the essence of chiropractic is very spiritual and very mystical. People don't know that. That
No,
is
I didn't
not
know
a
that.
very much advertised fact, right?
Mhm.
And my guess is that is not advertised is because it would give people more ammunition to dislike chiropractors. But that is the truth, right? And so principled chiropractors like myself and those in Kairos Training Culture, we are very connected to our spiritual origins of the profession. There are many healing modalities and many healing strategies that have had, you could say, mystical people be the leaders of these movements, and they've essentially seen or been connected with in a spiritual place, a spiritual realm, or maybe connected from an ancestor or brought it in from a past life into this time-space continuum and has developed something new. For example, chiropractic, maybe not the word chiropractic, but bone setting has been around since ancient times. When you look at ancient Egyptian philosophy and medicine, like there's bone setters in those times, right? It wasn't called chiropractic, but it was chiropractic.
They were doing
right?
it.
Let's be honest, right? They probably had their own take on it and their own understanding, which is cool, just like we do. But its origins and its deep philosophy that, chiropractic is the science, art, and philosophy of all things natural.
Wow.
Natural. No drugs, no surgeries, pills, potions, or lotions, right? And
I
a
love it.
lot of chiropractors get very confused on that point because
Yeah.
they want to make more money doing more things. So they add
Yeah.
on a bunch of stuff that's not chiropractic in and of its essence. And so something that is more rare this day and age is a principled chiropractor that believes healing happens from above down, inside out. And when you adjust the nervous system, amazing things can happen. The nervous system is like a computer, essentially. It is the most advanced computer or system probably in the universe, I would imagine. And so when we adjust people, either energetically on a table or like a deep structural set, like you feel often, what
Yes.
that's doing is it's not cracking a bone. Let's get that straight. The sound that people hear is gas releasing from the joint space. That's what makes the pop sound, right? Cavitation is what that's called. But what happens when that occurs is a message via the receptors from that joint articulation travels up to the brain. Then the innate intelligence of that person, which we all have, will reorganize that neurological energy, that neurological pattern, and then it will send a new message down the spinal cord, out the nerve to the part of the body that was not working correctly or in a state of dysfunction, reprogramming the body.
So cool.
When people say, "Can you crack me today?" I'm like, do you want your nervous system reorganized to a higher state of being in essence? Yeah, I'll do that, but I'm not going to crack you.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when you truly know and embody the adjustment, it is a gift. We say in chiropractic circles, we've shared with you a gift to guard it well, so generations
Wow.
before. So, here we give you a sacred trust, guard it well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very grateful to have learned that from a point very early on in school, that this is a sacred thing. People
Yeah.
come to get an adjustment, yes, but they don't know that I'm entering like a sacred union with that person when my hands lay on. Mhm. And that's what's valuable, and that's what's worthy of being trained, and that's what's worthy of holding a very high healing intention for everybody that comes in, rather than just cracking someone.
Yeah. And you definitely feel that in your practice. Like even you always come and, hand usually like between my shoulder blades, right? You always almost lay your hand there first, and then check me out and see what's going on. But every time you just lay your hand on my back, I instantly feel your energy. I instantly connect with the intention of healing. You're very powerful. You're very gifted at what you do. And to the point where I've like been like shucksing myself. I'm like, why didn't I become a chiropractor? It's
Hey,
so
you still
cool.
can.
I should probably just take it up because it's
You
like,
probably should.
it's so cool. And just like from a healer to a healer, like I just deal with the energetics,
Mhm.
sometimes the energetics I've had physical healings in my life of like being in a ministry and stuff like that. But I love what you do because you address a physical issue. But like you and I have had moments where I'm like, oh my God, like I'm having like a
Mhm.
moment here, like whether
Yeah.
it's tears, like it's an emotional thing. There was one time where you adjusted something and it was directly related with my heart chakra. And I mean, like, I felt that. Like it was intense. And I just started like emotionally detoxing the whole drive home. I don't know why I'm crying, but I'm crying and I'm just like, cool, just going to release and embody and integrate.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah. I
so
mean,
cool.
you know, something that I say, when I say we, I mean, those of us that have, really dove deep in what the adjustment is in Kairos training culture. And I have a lot of this understanding to attribute to my mentor, Dr. Brett Jones. But when you make specific adjustments in a very specific way towards the disc, the spongy pads between the spinal vertebra, a lot of emotion can be held in that aqueous fluid. And so as you begin to access the disc level adjusting, emotions can rush in and rush out. And you're like, oh my God, I'm stuck in a vortex of emotion here. Right. And, we've talked about this, like, when you're accessing the spinal joint, that's very physical stuff, the tension, the compression, the distortion. And when you go all the way to the cord level, blast off, that's spirit level stuff, And so the key about being a facilitator, and I'm sure you recognize this as well, is you don't want to take someone to a place where they're not ready or capable of going yet.
Yeah.
And that's the value of working with a very I'm not saying I'm very gifted, I'm saying I understand the energetics of facilitatorship, in that an adjustment at the right place at the right time will unlock a stuck pattern, a physical, emotional, or spiritual pattern, which will bring it more to the surface to be felt, processed, and then ultimately released. And then from there, your tissue reorganizes.
It's amazing. What you didn't know was I was really wrestling with something that was really getting my spirit down.
Yeah.
Like I was really kind of like feeling it and feeling really low. And when we did that, which you intuitively knew I was ready for, like that helped me to release, unattach, let go, trust. There were so many things that were happening to me throughout the rest of that day and the next couple days that it's like I feel like I'm Switzerland. Like at this point, like I'm so neutral from that adjustment that now it's like, cool. If it happens, if it comes into my life, awesome. If it doesn't, fantastic. Like I'm not wrestling at that level. And I know that so many people struggle with that when we have dreams and hopes and wants and desires. And so it's really amazing that you can do something that is so simple. I mean, it's not simple, it's complex, but like it's an adjustment in your physical body that would have such effects on the rest of your literal all systems, like emotional, mental, and spiritual, energetic, like as well as you're physically tuning me back into what should be my natural state, and you're helping and allowing my body to heal itself, which influences the rest of us. It's just incredible that we have this available to us.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
and I will say, chiropractors have traditionally been known to be fringe, right? Fringe professionals, right? But when you combine a powerful philosophy, a spot on philosophy, if anyone's listening to this, look up the 33 principles of chiropractic healing and see if you can argue with any of them. They're stone cold spot on. And they are the guiding tenets of our profession. When you mix that with an incredible artful adjustment, when you adjust someone from a place of peace without wrenching the neck over to the shoulder, but you adjust it smoothly, specifically, and artfully, and then you combine that with a great scientific understanding of what the heck is actually taking place when you adjust someone, it's a powerful combination. And I'm grateful to have a tripod. It's a tripod. That's the analogy. And when you stand on those three legs, you cannot be pushed over, right? And so even though people might think we're fringe and all that, I'll spit scientifically exactly what's happening when the adjustment takes place, what's happening neurologically, what's happening neurochemically, what's happening biomechanically. And I will say not all chiropractors have that understanding, but when you seek a level of mastery and you have an obsessive level of artistry, like I do, you seek those things out, right? And it comes through, in certainty, and then in the application of the adjustment, but ultimately in the results that you're seeing on the table and in the office and in people's lives. That's the proof in the pudding.
Yeah. I think you have that amply. I'm one that has, and I've only been with you for a month and a half
Yeah.
ish, and I've had like amazing results. And I didn't come in with like anything super severe except for like a lower back injury, which is going to take a bit to heal. Cause it's been a bit of, of
Had it for a
no
while.
help. Yeah, it's been a while. But I love it. And I know that a lot of what we end up talking about in the office is the spiritual connections, because I will ask you, I will tell you like, oh my God, like that, whoa, like I'll be having a moment where it's like my brain is trying to compute what just happened, and then all of that, but I'm feeling it energetically and all of that. So we always end up talking about the spiritual connection to the practice. And I would love for you to kind of expand on that or expound on that for those who don't understand the body, soul, spirit connection, and how exactly are we connected in that way
Sure,
in all
sure.
three.
Yeah. In my understanding, which is a unique understanding, I'm not saying it's the understanding. As above, so below. The concept of as above, so below. So if we as the physical bodies are so below, something's got to be above, right? You see, sacred geometry, for example, right? You see sacred geometry in the constellations. You see sacred geometry written through the fabric of nature, right? When you understand quantum mechanics, that you can be a particle and a wave, and that something can exist somewhere and exist in the same state or in a different state somewhere else on the other end of the universe, right? Like when you make that adjustment, like it's not just affecting the physical body. Yes, it's affecting neurology and the biology and the neurochemistry and the physiology, right? But if you have a deep spiritual understanding, it's adjusting the soul, the spirit, the essence that
Yep.
makes up that person. So when you're getting adjusted, now there's many chiropractors that would call this absolute crap and absolute bullshit and say that it actually diminishes the authority of our profession and that I should shut up. And I say, y'all can feel that way, but I've seen these results in the office. I've seen the spiritual awakenings. I've seen the spiritual reconnections. I've seen the, thank you. I felt, thank you, Darren, for helping me reconnect to my soul essence, And so when you serve it, there's a guy named Dr. Michael Dibley. He says, when you serve on the quantum, you get served on the quantum. And so that's why, you see people that are attracted to the Source offices, which there are 5 now. Wink, wink. Our goal is over 100 within the next 5 years.
Cool.
There will be a quantum healing taking place in humanity because you're going to have, our goal is millions of people getting care at Source offices all over the country and world. And when people are actually being seen at like the soul and spirit level, you can have radical healings, and you can have radical timeline healings as well, where your ancestors will be clapping mightily for you, that you're the one that has come in to do the work and seeked out the people that can facilitate your nervous system to an incredible level of reorganization. And so that was a long-winded answer, by the way. I don't know if I totally answered your question, but I have a 100% certainty in knowing that we are physical manifestations of a spiritual essence, and that we are never disconnected from that spiritual essence, that soul essence, that spirit, right? So that when you adjust the physical, you adjust the spiritual as well. I have an unequivocal certainty of that. And if someone wants to spit in my face, which people have before, and tell me that I'm crazy, I bless them for their level of understanding, but I don't let that shake me at all.
Yeah. It's nuts. It's really interesting, just the idea of realigning just even your physical, and that aligning you in a spiritual way, but also on a soul level, your mind, emotions, and will. I think one thing that I've always had a question about, because I mean, I know this is probably really stupid, or uneducated, but for me, what I've not really understood is, how is it that we become out of alignment? Like, like I know, like work stuff, like, wrong positioning, things like that. But I just didn't, I think I've always wondered, why is it that my body doesn't naturally correct itself, that I would need that realignment on a physical level? Is that because we just go without care? Is it that this is like just a natural part of self-practice, of health and wellness, but somehow we've missed it? It's like it left our culture, so that we're just kind of like not aware. Is that what happened?
That question is one of the most deeply debated questions in all of healing and chiropractic circles.
Oh, okay.
why and how do we misalign?
Yeah.
Why do we misalign? And you have your camps that say, oh, misalignments are bad things and subluxations are horrible, and we as chiropractors need to be subluxation killers and assassinators. And then you have the other people that say, and I'm a little bit more on this, I'm Peter. I can kind of go either way, right, sometimes, but I really believe that a subluxation is a strategy that will keep you from further levels of harm. Like, for example, you're going to sprain an ankle before you break an ankle. Evolutionarily, it's better to sprain an ankle and still be able to walk or run away from a wolf that's chasing you than rather break your shit and not be able to move and get eaten.
Yeah.
Right. And so when the body subluxates, when the spine subluxates, rather from a micro trauma like sitting done over a long amount of time, or from a macro trauma like a car wreck or a trip or a fall, boom, that happens in an instant, the body will take on energy. The body will take on physical energy. The body can take on emotional energy as easily as physical energy. If you have a terrible breakup, or you get abandoned as a child, or so on and so forth, whatever, or you have a complete disconnection of soul, right? That energy will go into your physical system. Everything is energy. I am prefacing this topic with, you got to have an understanding of energy, and that everything is energy. And that when the body misaligns, it is an unintegrated experience. It is the energy that has come into your system, body, heart, mind, soul, and it has distorted the system in a very subtle way, right? A subluxation is a subtle distortion in the position of the central nervous system, the bones of the spine. And when an experience is unintegrated, or it is not felt, or it is not acknowledged, it will stay there. And when that misposition, that subluxation, sub meaning under, lux meaning light, ation means a state of being, there's a decreased level of light expression, which means a decreased level of light integration and processing and experiencing, the nervous system will change. The nervous system will morph. how it sends messages from the brain to the body and then the body back up to the brain. And there will become areas of interference. For example, people will say that, hey, Dr. Darren, I have shitty digestion and I've had it for a long time, right? And I'll say, what do you do for a living? Or did so-and-so happen? And they'll be like, yeah, I got in a car wreck. Or say I sat for like 15 years at a desk job where my shoulders are hunched forward and my mid-thoracic spine is curved, right? And it just happened out of nowhere for the last 5 years. And it's the nervous system changes over time, either in big ways or in subtle ways. And so chiropractors essentially, and what I love about the Source Chiropractic and the model with which we care for people, is that we ask the questions to acknowledge people at a deep level so they can bring those experiences to the forefront mentally, and then the adjustment takes place, which realigns the bones and the physiology and the nervous system, which will essentially bring that experience forward to be felt. So we say you have to feel it to heal it. And that is true every single day in healing. And sometimes that shit sucks, right? Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's funny because on some of the deeper adjustments that you've done, like I joked with you, I think in our last session, where I was like, felt like a sword going through my chest. You know, it was so intense
Yeah.
of a correction, but yet my brain was like, that should hurt. Like that should hurt like really bad. But
Yeah.
instead, you're just feeling a lot of pressure
Yeah.
and then also a pressure release, you know, at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. And then feeling the effects and feeling my body start to process that, you know, even in the exact area that I was adjusted. But if that was a deep
Deep.
adjustment.
Yeah,
But
and then like not every adjustment is like that, but there's a
no.
time and a place. And like, when
Yeah.
I'm scanning the body, I'm sensing for areas of tone that are not in resonance with each other. And when there are areas that essentially are not communicating with each other, boom, that's where I make an adjustment. And sometimes it's shallow, sometimes it's really deep, sometimes it has
Yep.
rotation, sometimes there's different vectors associated. And that's the art of the adjustment, is being able
Yep.
to access someone's spine in a very unique way that will bring that tonal unresonance, or that confusion and chaos in a system
Yep.
to the surface to be felt, processed, and ultimately out of the body. But
Yep.
we humans love our layers. Like we love just putting stuff on top of each other, put it on top, put it on top, put it on top. And so, when I share with people, how long their initial care plan is going to be, they're like, whoa, wait. They're like, why that amount of time and why that number of adjustments? And I say, well, you've been experiencing things for 20 years. You've had a broken leg, 20 years ago. You've had neck pain going on 7 years. And there's a depth of patterning that needs to be unwound.
Yeah.
And that's another hallmark of facilitatorship, is understanding how patterning resides in the human body and being able to efficiently and effectively unwind in a safe manner and safe way that patterning, the trauma, essentially micro and macro trauma, so that the person can be released from the tension, compression, and distortion in their system and ultimately live with lights fully on.
Yeah.
That's the key.
That's the goal, right?
It's the
Is to
goal.
be completely lights on. And it's really cool because even some of the little adjustments, like I've had like little knee things or even foot things that I didn't even realize I had, and you adjust it. I'm like, oh, that just like set me free.
Yeah.
It like, and it feels so good. Like it's interesting that the majority of the time I would say it's not painful getting adjusted, even on the bigger ones. Even the bigger ones are actually probably the least uncomfortable. But I love you have to feel it to heal it, because it's
Yeah.
so true that, and you always say that, like, if it's a bigger adjustment, even if it's not necessarily like, uncomfortable or painful or whatever, you're always saying, feel it, breathe
Mhm.
into that. Even while we're in the middle of adjusting, breathe
Yeah.
here, like you'll point, breathe here, bring energy there. And every
Yeah.
time
Like,
it's amazing.
people will cry and laugh and hoop and holler and, throw F bombs and all that on the table. And like, who am I to judge someone's healing experience and expression? Like that
Mhm.
could have been, their mom leaving them on the steps of school as a kid for 5 hours and then feeling abandoned, and that adjustment, or whatever, release the tone of that emotion, right? And so,
They
the
weren't able
greatest
to
job of a
express.
chiropractor is analyze the system, adjust the system with a loving, healing intention, and then get the hell out of the way for the person to express and integrate. Sometimes, though, chiropractor needs to provide a unique space for integration and processing. Right time, right place, but not always.
Yeah. Yeah. And um, with everything, I think it's just really interesting that that chiropractic one was channeled, which totally didn't even know. And I've never been adjusted or worked with a chiropractor that is as spiritually minded as you. I think one of them was, I think he was a Christian.
Mhm.
But that was like the extent, not necessarily even adjusting me on that energetics level. It was really just all the physical
Mhm.
elements of what I was experiencing, and it did help. But it's really interesting just the awareness that you bring into the practice of like, hey, you're all parts here. Like there's a lot happening here. This is layers and levels
Yeah.
deep. And patterning is interesting. Do you feel like patterning is kind of something we do out of habit? Is patterning a way of survival? Is that kind of just, I know, like you mentioned the wolf thing, but is that something that we just kind of have always done? Is there a way to
Uh,
get out of that?
Kind of, sort of. Let me touch on something real quick. You mentioned it when between different chiropractors. This is the age-old question in chiropractic: is that how do you have essentially two people with the same issue, low back pain, right? And then you have two chiropractors, relatively the same chiropractors that give a relatively similar looking and feeling adjustment. Yet one has radically different results than the other. Shouldn't they effectively have the same result? The adjustment looked the same. It was provided. The sound happened, right? No. What's different is the healing intention of one chiropractor in comparison to the other. And so, whenever anyone asks me for a referral to a chiropractor somewhere, or someone's asking about starting chiropractic care, I always say, make sure you find a chiropractor that has a powerful healing intention, because that healing intention is probably more important than the adjustment itself,
Yeah.
because it's the energetic container that that person will enter into with the chiropractor. So, for example, before I adjust anybody, I'm always asking the person's body on the table, how can I free your system in our time together today? Whereas a lot of chiropractors will ask, how can I fix you? Right? Fuck fixing. It's time for freeing. I hope I can drop F bombs on this
You
podcast.
totally can. Yes, please.
And so, in any healing journey, healing modality, be sure to ask people, like, what is their healing intention for the people in their practice or whoever they're serving. If they're like, well, what do you mean healing intention? That's a good sign you need to move on,
Yeah.
right? And so, one of the most powerful things a chiropractor can do is hold and possess and embody the healing principle, right? And it can look a lot of different ways, and it can sound a lot of different ways, right? But that's a hallmark of someone who's a little more tapped in, I would say. But anyway, to get on to patterning. So, I mean, in my experience, patterning is experiences, right? Like, what are you doing on a physical level every day? You know, do you sit in your car for 45 minutes to drive to work? When people sit, that's a pattern, right? Your nervous system will remember the positions your body holds the most. So, when you have a desk worker who's been working a desk job 30, 40 years, and then when they get to be in their 60s and 70s, they all look, they're taking these short little steps, their shoulders are rounded forward like this, their head is jutted forward. Well, they're walking as if they're sitting, right? And so that's why we say sitting is the new smoking. It's one of the most dangerous programs and processes we can feed our central nervous system. That's why movement, breath work are all so important, is because it breaks us out of patterns, right? Or emotional patterns. Say you're in an abusive relationship, but you're getting something from that abusive relationship. you're getting programmed with abuse, mental, emotional, sexual, spiritual, whatever, right? And so being able to break from the patterns, to break free from the cycles that no longer serve us, that's what the chiropractic adjustment is. It is, follow me here, an adjustment in a structural sense. I'm speaking a structural adjustment, not an energetic sense, right? It must be applied with a greater amount of inertia and momentum than that pattern currently possesses. So if someone has a very deep pattern, say like child abuse or something like that, I'm probably going to have to bring the big guns, because that is, and they'll say they're in their 20s, 30s, or 40s, and that has been wreaking havoc in their lives for years and years and years. I got to bring it to where my adjustment vibrates at a stronger, higher vibration than that traumatic experience. If I don't, that pattern will not reorganize. It's energetics, it's quantum mechanics, right? You must overcome the frequency of that experience so that it may have destructive interference, that's a physics term, and ultimately allow that feeling to be processed and reorganized.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing to think about, because anything that would be a lower vibe would probably just get absorbed into the pattern, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't affect it, because
and not to say that everything of a higher frequency will always be a healing frequency. You can have very low frequencies that are healing frequencies. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I try not to be tied to high or low vibes, but I think in waveforms, like what is the waveform and the frequency of a certain pattern? And that's felt through my hands and intuited, through my heart and mind. And when I lay hands on, I can feel and connect with that, right? And in that moment, some chiropractors, like they can feel it. They're very kinesthetic. They can see it. They're very clairvoyant, or they know it and they feel it, right? And then the artistry of the profession comes in. How do you provide that adjustment with the right amount of force, with the right vector at the right angle to release that pattern? And sometimes it takes multiple adjustments or multiple sessions to even begin to unlock that pattern. That's the healing process.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Can you talk a little bit about the Kairos training culture and what is different about that, or what's unique about it, just so people can understand?
Yeah, there's a lot of great chiropractic training programs out there. A lot of great chiropractic, like there's MLS, there's Centropede, there's Pneuma Chiropractic, and each has their own flavor, right? Each has their own expression, right? Kairos Training Culture was created by Brett Jones back in 2012, 2013 out at Life West. Brett went on to create the first Source Chiropractic office, which I worked at with him 2017 to 2019. And then from there, we created the Source Chiropractic franchise, which is now in 5 cities. Kairos Training Culture is the core of all of that. Kairos is essentially the chiropractic training program that teaches doctors and students how to adjust in this model, right? How do you adjust from a state of being connected to a person before actually making a correction? How do you adjust from a place of physiological peace and ease so that adjustment travels the length of the nervous system and it doesn't get stuck in the joint because you were adjusting from a state of tension? How do you acknowledge the quantum beingness of a person? How do you acknowledge the soul and the spirit? And how do you become a better facilitator, but ultimately a better human? It's human development training in a nutshell, right? Disguised as a chiropractic training program. Taught by people who have been obsessive about the work and obsessive about the adjustment and obsessive about human advancement and facilitating greater states of being through the chiropractic adjustment. Like people who really want to go look up Kairos Training Culture, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, and it is a very unique tribe of people that we do a lot of interesting stuff. We love cold plunges and hardcore breath work, and we take retreats and do all this all these things that people would be like, y'all crazy sons of bitches, right? But it's all done in the name of self-development, right? It's all done in the name of training ourselves to get out of the way so that when we do provide that adjustment, spirit works through us and we're just a bridge, right? Because when you're learning how to adjust, your mental mind gets in the way. You're like, oh my God, like, am I going to hurt the person? Are they going to hate me? Are they ever going to come back? Is my hand doing the right thing? Is my elbow in? Is my shoulder in? Am I going the right way? It's so mental. But as you train, just like any skill, to where it becomes unconsciously competent, it just flows through you, right? And when the adjustment flows through you, you're essentially a divine bridge for source, right? Source intelligence, universal intelligence, innate intelligence. But the thing is, you got to get yourself out of the way. And that's why we train. And we have, 12, 13, 14, 15 seminars every single year, is to help people in the chiropractic profession grow, advance, evolve with a lot of these high level concepts.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. Okay. So before we wrap, I just need people to know how cool your sun codes are.
What?
Your sun codes.
Oh yeah.
I need people to know about these because they're so cool. And you literally have you have them everywhere. Really, they would be awesome tattoos too, but
they would be, yes.
They would be. I was thinking
about that before.
Yeah. I was too. I was like, I think that one. I really like that one. I could see that somewhere.
Well, I could always channel one. If you want to come up with an intention, I'll channel one for you. But you got to give me the intention so the symbol can essentially possess the vibration of your intention.
Ooh, cool. Yes. Yeah. We will talk. So how did that happen? You just one day were looking and saw?
Kind of. So cool. When I lived in Sedona back in 2012, I went to a channeling by a lady named Barbara Marciniak, and she channels the Pleiadians, which is essentially an etheric space race in the Pleiadian constellation, aka the Seven Sisters. And during that channeling, she was channeling these beings, and they were saying that the sun is the consciousness beacon for our 9-planet solar system. Any star is the consciousness beacon for that solar system, wherever it may be. And all of these stars and these suns link together, and it creates a consciousness network throughout either the Milky Way or whatever galaxy you're in, or galaxy to galaxy in the universe. So it's a light network, essentially. And she goes, if you ever want to gain access or tap into this consciousness network, you need to connect to the sun. Either meditate, on the solar energy of the sun, and meditate in front of a picture of the sun. I was like, hell with that. I'm going to look at the sun, for crying out loud, right? And so May 23rd, 2013. This was like a year or more later. I don't know why I didn't do it right away, but I was, this was pre-chiropractic, and I was sitting on this deck over in the Rhino neighborhood, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to eat some consciousness today. What the hell? And I just opened my eyes, looked at the sun. It was just an instant, less than a half a second, and then poof, this huge symbol just appeared right in my third eye field, a foot out here. It's like I could grab it, but I couldn't grab it, right? I was seeing it with my third eye. And I was like, holy crap, what's going on here, right? And so I went immediately and I got my journals, and I just started drawing all of these symbols. And I've done it fairly consistently since 2013. It's really kind of depended where I live and if I have morning access to the sun. And when I've had morning access to the sun, I'll be out there every chance I get. I've done over 5,000 of these symbols over the last 9 years. And so a very, very committed, who knows how many hours that's been, but very, very committed, because I'm bringing in spiritual frequency. And it's as if these symbols reside in a library somewhere, and I somehow have access to this library. I have no rhyme or reason why I channel the shapes I channel. I don't judge the shapes. I just bring it in. And it was explained to me one time is that it's like a computer. Like we type the keyboard, right? That's the input. And then on the screen, there's an output, what that actually looks like, right? And so when I open my eyes and I look at the sun, I am receiving cosmic rays, solar energy, the rays of the sun, essentially in the back of my eye. But then my mind and my brain's computer outputs that energy as a symbol, just as a computer would put an L or a 7 or a money sign or whatever on a screen. And so what I'm really seeing is energy in a symbol form, just like the hieroglyphics in Egypt. That's why you go to certain temples, is to be in a certain energetic vibration so you can evolve to a certain level, state, or being, right? And so the reason I have these symbols in my practice is to create or to facilitate a healing vibration in a healing environment in the office. So that when the adjustment is provided and applied, they're in a vibration of healing, right? But here's the crazy story, and we'll kind of end on this, is that when I adjust someone, every single vibration of every single symbol that I've ever channeled goes from me into that person. And that is my true medicine. My medicine is chiropractic. My profession is chiropractic, but my medicine is solar energy or cosmic frequencies that I help facilitate into people's systems through the chiropractic adjustment. So when I teach my seminar called Delivering the Lightning, well, delivering the lightning is actually delivering cosmic symbols.
Disclosure.
You know? And so that's how I help humanity evolve.
That's amazing.
Is that each person that lays on my table is literally, because all the knowledge of those symbols exists in my DNA. It's all in me, right? Because I bring it in, I see it, I become it when I draw it, right? So when that adjustment happens, so really when people say, "Can you crack me?" I'm like, well, do you want upgraded on a cosmic level? You know, like that's the true nature of the work that I inhabit and embody. Mm-hmm.
So cool. And thank you so much for sharing that on my podcast. Wow. Like it's just such an up-leveling to be one of your clients and to be a part of your practice. And so, hey, anybody that wants to come to Denver should see you. You should be one of their stops, as well as the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah. Or if they're in any other, if they're in Oakland, Tucson, Dallas, or St. Petersburg, Florida, every Source Chiropractic office has got unique people like me running those offices. They've all been trained in Kairos Training Culture, and most have worked at, the original Source Chiropractic. And so you're going to get a high level of healing facilitation at whatever office you go. You'll get my unique flavor and vibration at the Source Denver, as you'll get something very unique if you go to Tucson, Oakland, Dallas, or St. Pete, or wherever it will be from there on out,
So cool. Now, where can people find you on social media?
Sure.
Website?
So you can find me on Instagram at Source Chiro Denver, or at the Source Chiropractic Denver on Facebook. We're in the Sunnyside neighborhood up by Bacon Social House. That's usually the landmark that we tell people about. Phone number is 303-993-5769. And we look forward to speaking with people. There's a right fit for someone coming into our office, right? If you're coming in for a very mechanical adjustment where you just want to get adjusted and boom, 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 and see you later, that's not really what you're going to get. You're going to get seen at a deeper level. Your needs are going to be acknowledged, and you're going to be seen at a deeper level because you're going to have greater levels and profounder levels of healing. That's what it's all about, right? That's why people come to the Source. And then things like breath work and all the workshops and things like that are built up on top to facilitate expression in more ways.
So cool. Thank you, Dr. Darren, for being
You're so
here.
welcome.
This has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll do part 2 some other time.
Yes, we need part 2.